Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan. So right, I figured I would just review yet another film starring Christina Ricci. Because why the hell not? Because like I said before, I just so much feel like I don't review enough of movies really, if I'll be honest with you folks. And I'm just gonna be talking about these just at random really. Just in no particular order, just a sheer randomness. So that film I'm reviewing today is this movie. So it's going to be one of these psychological drama type movies. So okay, and it's based upon a book that was released on 1994. I guess Morar, if I'm pronouncing that name right. It's the same name, but it kind of talks about in a very specific type of depression and using kind of this antidepressant and whatnot. Which yes, I realize this is a very sensitive topic, and or any mental illness condition really can be challenging for several reasons. Yes, when it comes to the complexity of experience, this kind of depression, of course, embodies a wide range of symptoms and experiences that can greatly vary from person to person, of course, and having accuracy when it comes to portraying this of the nuance of these types of experiences can be pretty difficult as it requires deep understanding of the condition. Of course, there's also the stigma and misunderstanding of mental health topics are often surrounded by stigma, unfortunately, which in some ways is in the film, of course. And there are many misconceptions about depression. What this specific type of depression? This depression is there's a variety of different versions of this in some ways, and this is a very specific one, and how it could affect individuals. Right, script writers must try to carefully to avoid ensuring stereotypes or and inadvertently spreading information and whatnot. So this can be really tricky, actually, really tricky. But anyway, of course, as usual, let's just talk about the plot, shall we, folks? But yeah, like I said a moment ago, talking about this kind of thing can be really tricky, actually. So yeah, I'm just throwing that out there, folks. Anyway, so of course, taking place in the 1980s, 1986 to be precise here. Elizabeth is this 90-year-old a woman that's been accepted into Harvard with a scholarship in journalism. She has been raised by her divorced mother. So yeah, that's another subject matter that's been thrown here too. That's a very serious subject matter as well. And this was going on since she was 2 years old. Has not seen her father at all in the last 4 years previously, despite her lack of interest and involvement. Lindsay, or should call her Elizabeth, still misses her father, of course. Yeah, this seems to be a factor to her depression, of course, as mentioned earlier. So, yes, through a series of flashbacks, it is clear that there was a total communication breakdown between the main character's parents, which, of course, soon reflected on our main character's own relationship with her mother, of course. And yes, this will be a thing throughout the entire film, of course. And yes, of course, soon after arriving at Harvard, our main character does decide to lose her virginity to an older student, and she pretty much proceeds to, alienate the partner in crime here, so to speak, by throwing a loss of virginity party immediately afterwards with the help of her roommate. Although she and the main character begin as best friends, Ruby, the best friend, soon becomes another casualty of our main character's instability. So yeah, that does become a thing in this film, of course. If you know the pattern here, obviously. And like I was saying a moment ago, folks, yeah, so there's a whole bit where our main character does drink a lot, and I do mean quite often, I guess. So, as I was saying, balancing authenticity and sensitivity. Writers of the script do need to balance a realistic portrayal of the condition with sensitivity towards those in the audience who do suffer from this. Striking the right tone is critical, absolutely critical, to avoid romanticizing or trivializing the struggles of those associated with depression. So, yes, obviously, there's also a thing as well called potential triggers depicting mental illness. Health issues can be triggering for some audiences. I mean, yes, they'd be quite difficult because what triggers one person may not trigger the other. So it's going to vary from person to person. Of course, finding a way to tell said story without causing harm or distress to the viewers, whomever may be, requires careful, very careful consideration of the language, imagery, and of course themes used throughout the entire thing. Yes, you do also have to think about character development, crafting a well-rounded character who experiences this kind of depression, but the specific type of depression that this film is expressing anyway requires a deep exploration with their, I guess you can say, internal life, and of course external factors as well, behaviors. I mean, it's essential to avoid one-dimensional portrayals because which can be oversimplifying the complexity of mental illness, which unfortunately a lot of movies do that. And anyway, so there's also this narrative responsibility. There is a responsibility to represent this mental health issues thoroughly and thoughtfully, and of course accurately. Obviously, misinformation, misrepresentation can be providing harmful stereotypes, hindering the understanding, and of course, just going on with the stigma surrounding mental illness. Which, yes, in the United States and America, there's a lot that needs to be fixed when it comes to that kind of thing, which yes, I do realize, obviously. Which, yes, there's a lot to criticize when it comes to a lot of people's understanding because of this kind of thing. Find hope when it comes to struggling while depicting the challenges of this specific type of depression when it comes to this type of movies. Like this one, for example, the script writers also need to convey a sense of hope, which I guess potential for recovery, and yes, of course, balancing the darker aspects of the character's journey with uplifting moments can be very difficult. And yes, you do need to go through a lot of research, which sounds like the most obvious thing, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't realize it. Like in a lot of ways, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is. You still need to do a lot of research regardless of the subject matter. But topics like this, topics such as this, regardless of what the illness is, you still need to do, especially this, you still need to do a lot. I mean, a lot of research. So, yes, writers do need to conduct ex- extensive research and possibility communicate with people with like the mental health professionals to ensure the accurate portrayal. And this can be time consuming and research intensive, which can be pretty difficult in itself because newsflash, making movies have a deadline. Making movies do have a deadline, so this can be really difficult in itself, folks. And yes, the audiences could react in certain ways. Different audiences may react differently to mental health narratives. Some may, I guess, act deeply with such structure depicted, while others may feel uncomfortable or misrepresented. So, and another thing, this should be pretty obvious as well. Avoiding cliches. The film itself and storytelling overall landscape is full of cliches already. I mean, especially when it comes to mental illnesses. Crafting a unique narrative that feels fresh and authentic without falling into these traps can be, yeah, a significant challenge. So yes, I just want to point out in my review here, it is important to recognize the complexities of portraying mental illnesses, such as this one specifically, this kind of depression, because depression does come in varieties, of course. It's not just one specific shade, so to speak. Like one kind of, we can't just paintbrush this entire thing as one kind of shade of color because it comes in varieties. Well, okay, yes. Why I may not be an expert in any of this at all, I am not. But I do believe it is absolutely essential to discuss the challenges filmmakers face when tackling this kind of a thing. When it comes to nuanced topics, film's main character, Elizabeth, embodies many aspects of this kind of depression. Again, this kind of depression specifically, such as mood, activity, and emotional challenges, yet capturing the full complexity of this experience is no small feat. The filmmakers did attempt to go for this authenticity. In a lot of ways, was a risk of overly simplifying it and misleading kind of ways. So, as I can't read, I just can't emphasize on that even more. And yes, the film does have a lot of good acting. A lot of the film does have lots of great acting here, especially from Christina Ricci. She does a really phenomenal job here, and so does everyone else, of course. She does a good job. Mental illness can often be plagued with stigma, but this movie, of course, the scriptwriters do attempt to confront this reality. It is difficult to navigate the fine line between, let's say, depicting the struggles artistically and reinforcing the harmful stereotypes. I find myself questioning whether the film effectively raises awareness or not, or inadvertently confined in the misrepresentation about depression. But yes, it's difficult. Like I said, folks, it's very difficult, and the actors and actresses do their best to give light to some kind of structure. Of course, one of the challenges in storytelling about mental illness is striking a balance between portraying the main character's struggle and providing a sense of hope, which, like I mentioned before, he has to do that. While this film does go into the darkness of Elizabeth's path, it sometimes feels overwhelming, which honestly it does. Viewers may, of course, appreciate a narrative that also emphasizes on some kind of possibility of recover, of course, which to some extent the film does do to some extent. You have to have some visual and emotional representation as well because the film does employ various visual and emotional tactics to represent Elizabeth and Tono struggling. Still, as a viewer, did not deeply maybe see this in emotional. I guess when it comes to mental health representation, I found it challenging to process maybe some of the visual metaphors. Because personally speaking, I never went through this, of course, like to this extent, so I may not understand it completely, folks. And it does arise the question how effectively that this techniques can communicate these complexities of mental health issues to a wide variety audience. Because you do want a lot of people to see what you made here, of course, what you had done here, of course. But anyway, bottom line, when it comes to like having this underlying concern, it is the responsibility of the filmmakers when representing mental health. Are they communicating with mental health professionals to ensure the accuracy depiction? This question looms over a large portion when it comes to concerning the narrative's shape of the public understanding of such specific issues. Of course, in conclusion, the film does tackle the complex subject matter of the present, this kind of anyway, but does so with varied degrees of success, one way or another. Again, I must reiterate, I am not an expert, okay? But however, I do appreciate the effort to bring the mental illness, health issues to the forefront of the public discuss. However, the challenges of this kind of thing, the stigma, the intensity, and the, of course, having the balances of this between the struggle and hope should, of course, always remain at the forefront when it comes to creating such narratives of the mental health. So there's that, of course. I don't know. I can't really say. I guess it might be a tough watch for some people, but it does a solid enough job. I mean, yes, of course, this film might be too gloomy for some people in a lot of ways. Yes, I know, folks. I know it feels like I'm rambling on here, so I do appreciate anyone for having a look. Of course, I do appreciate it, folks. So I thank you for listening. Yeah, some people out there may find this maybe a little too depressing, but maybe too gloomy. But for what it's worth, I can see what the efforts, what the individuals behind this are trying to achieve. Of course, I mean, yes, it may not be the most action-packed film ever. It may not be the most fast-paced film ever. It has its slow moments, but again, this is a drama, a specific type of drama. But you do have to keep in mind. Yes, it's kind of hard to recommend this because it's good filmmaking. Actually, it's very good filmmaking. But if you watch it, just keep this in mind. That's all. So I'll give this film an overall rating of a 7.0 10. It's a 7.0 10 for me. So of course, as always, thanks for watching. See you.